want to make sure we're testing it out, that it works well. And I thought this intermittent fasting topic would be ideal just because it's something we've been talking about for a little bit, and I've been getting some questions on it. So without further ado, let's get going. Now, this will not take much time. I think when I timed myself before, it's less than 10 minutes. So you should be in and out, and you can be having your lunch while we go over this. But if you're fasting, then you may not be having lunch at this time. So what we'll cover would be, what is intermittent fasting? Is it for you? And what happens to your body when you are intermittent fasting? We're going to cover some key points in a short time, so hang on to your seats. This will leave a few minutes for questions, answers, or comments, anything that you may have. And due to the time limitations, leave questions and comments to the end, and I'll address it then. You can post your questions in the chat section where everyone can see it. Or, you can direct message particular person if you prefer. So if anyone that you're seeing on there, anyone that you're chatting with, you'll be able to chat with them directly through direct messenger. Okay. We also see what IF and its benefits are, and more details on IF, which is the shortening for intermittent fasting, will come in the future or in future sessions in case you want to join for that. Okay. So what is IF? It is basically an eating pattern. A lot of people may call it a diet, but it's not necessarily a diet in that traditional sense. It's the eating pattern. It cycles between periods of not eating and periods of eating. So interestingly, specific foods to be eaten is not dictated. It is more about when you eat rather than what you eat. In this respect, it's not a diet in the conventional sense, but more accurately described as an eating pattern. Even though there isn't a restriction on what you eat, I would caution you to try and eat healthy more often than not, of course. So when was the last time you fasted, and for how long? And if you want to go ahead and put that note in the chat box, that would be wonderful. It will just give me an idea of where you are or where you stand with fasting or intermittent fasting. But even though there's a great benefits, we just want to make sure that people are consulting their doctor or health professional before embarking on changes to their diet or eating plan. And of course, also, if you're under 18, if you're pregnant or breastfeeding, if you have health issues like diabetes and cardiovascular challenges, if you're underweight, and if you typically don't feel well on fasting or while fasting, then intermittent fasting may not be for you. And it's funny because studies show different things. I know studies have shown that people that struggle with diabetes, just because it's something that affects their insulin, that fasting actually helps, but they need to be going through that process with someone that knows what they're doing. I want to know that if you are new to fasting, that you need to start slowly, because you feel really terribly if you don't. And we'll discuss the programs and break down in more details, of course, in a future session. This session is really just for a quick overview. So what happens to your body when you fast? And it's, a lot of people have this debate about fasting, but if you've ever fasted, most people probably fasted for the first time, as part of a spiritual journey or part of a church group fasting process. But, I think the intention behind how your body works, the creator knew what he was doing. So when fasting, it says your body detoxifies. People are buying different things to detoxify this and detoxify that and detoxify drink and pills, etc. And really what they need to be doing is just fasting. It's a great way to detoxify. It burns fat and it also regenerates. So it regenerates your cells. We may not realize the amount of energy that we need to push out to digest food. I mean, the digestion process takes a lot of energy and time and effort. Therefore, when your body is constantly digesting food, it makes other activities wait. So, for example, regeneration, as I mentioned before. And many people find that when they hit a fasting rhythm, that they tend to have more energy, and that's because your body is pulling, it's pulling from fat, and it's so your body you're feeling a lot more energized. Secondly, too, is that you're not digesting food. For those of us that are from the islands, and they said, after you eat, you want to fall asleep, they call it niggeritis. And it's because your body is digesting food. And sometimes in the islands, you have this thing where you call it's a boxed food or it's a takeout, and it's huge. It's rice and beans and meat and a little bit of vegetables. And you eat all that and you want to go to sleep because your body is just so busy trying to digest it. And studies also recommend fasting for 72 hours at least twice per year to get the benefits of it. And the reason is, if you look at the chart, you'll see it says, by 12 hours, you've entered the metabolic state called ketosis. And of course, in this state, your body starts to break down and burn fat. That's what ketosis is. By the time you're fasting for around 18 hours, you've switched to fat burning mode and are generating significant ketones. So if you've ever fasted before, those first few hours is really tough. I remember once I was in the hospital and I could not eat because I had a digestive issue. I won't say I still do. I'm letting it go. I'm releasing it. But I had to have, every time I would go into the hospital, I'd have to go through a fasting process and treatment because the issue was, of course, in my intestinal tract. And the first few hours were terrible. By day 2, it's still bad, but not as horrible as day 1. But by the time you get to day 3, it was like, what was the problem? It's like my body just adjusted and says, you're fine, you're good, we'll feed off whatever fat that you have. And so it's not pulling, it's not as difficult. But it's gone into ketosis at that point. Within 24 hours, your cells are increasingly recycling old components and breaking down misfolded protein linked to Alzheimer's, they're saying, and other diseases. This is a process called autophagy. And autophagy is something new. You probably hear people talk about that probably 2 years now. And definitely something you need to look up and research. It's a process of your body. It's almost making it more youthful. It's recycling all those cells. And so it's definitely something you want to go ahead and research. And that's why in the notes I have, 72 hours, a lot of people do that twice a year, just to make sure that their bodies just completely recycled itself. By 48 hours without calories or with very few calories, carbs, or protein, your growth hormone level is up to 5 times as high as when you started your fast. So you may notice your skin starts to look better. You may have a little less wrinkles. Your energy's up. You may have a glow. And that is coming from fasting. Your body is, is just cycling out those old cells and pulling in new ones. So just imagine if you're consistently eating, your body has no time to really go through that process. And as I said, the creator had an idea and a mission of what he was doing as he put our bodies together. And last, by 72 hours, your body is breaking down old immune cells and generating new ones. So again, during that fasting process, your body's breaking things down. You will find that if you're fasting regularly, intermittent fasting in particular, regularly, your body will get to where your ideal weight should be. Everyone is not going to be a size 2, but not everyone is going to be a size 40. So it gets to that ideal rhythm, and you'll see it too in your skin. You'll see it too in, the cellulite, all those things. You'll start seeing it. People that have fasted, some people fast for a week, some people fast for a month. Good for them. I don't think I can fast that long, but, for people that fast extended, they start seeing the changes in their bodies. I know people are pain. For me, I know my knees, don't hurt as much, as I intermittent fast, or even going through a fasting period. I've heard people say some of the pain that they've had in their bodies, they tend to not have those pain again once they started to fast. So there are lots and lots of benefits, and it's something that you can test and challenge. And now, there's so much more to cover. This is a topic that I've researched for probably at least a couple of years now, because I was constantly on a journey to try and get my digestion system under control, for it to behave properly, to make sure that my weight is not going all over the place, to make sure that my joints aren't hurting too much. So it's something that I've researched over time. And so in the future, if it's something that you're interested in me pulling more information on and communicating on and just guiding and directing you through the intermittent fasting process, then definitely go ahead and let me know. So at this time, it's done. As I said, it's very quick. Just so that we can run over these details. But if there's anything else that you wanted me to address, let me know. If there's anything in the chat box, let me know. Let me see. I'm not seeing anything right now. So I am hoping that you heard the details from that presentation. I see that there is, we still see people at the table. And let me see who is there. Okay, excellent. So yes, if there are any other questions, let me know. If not, that's fine. What I will do, I'm going to go ahead and end this session. There's a session after this for quick chats. I'm going to jump into the chat boardroom greet area to see if there's anyone there that wants to ask me a question, so you can ask privately at your table. So at this time, I will go ahead and end this session.